being blessed of meeting Ryan over Instagram. And for the past month and about a week, we've been working on basically mindset and getting my body right by either eating the right food, right amount of food, and also basically understanding my body uh, so I can have a better lifestyle, live a healthy lifestyle at work, my marriage, my family. Uh, so it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Manny. Um, so really quick, John, I just want you to introduce yourself. I see we kind of going a little bit over on time. We could kind of talk with everybody at the end of it because I want Brian to be able to do the presentation. So we'll save time for everybody to speak at the end, but John kind of introduce himself real quick.
So most of you guys know who I am, John, co-founder with Ryan from Macro. You know, me and Ryan obviously partnered up during the pandemic. We started a home fitness challenge, and you know, we had so much attraction from that experience. So we wanted to kind of, you know, just kind of let it out and give more of the world what we were experiencing. And now we started this journey, collaborating with Brian, Mark, and just a lot of people that are seeing the vision, and we're very excited.
Nice. So Brian, you could take the wheel now.
Sorry, I'm a little tipsy.
Take it all. Give me can you make me the host so I can share my screen?
Oh yeah, hold on. Boom. You should be good now.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to join from my cell phone so I can see what it looks like for you guys. I get like anxiety. All right, cool. Yeah, so let's dive into it. Today, all about building muscle. We're going to dive into some of the myths around it. We're going to dive into the science around it, and it's going to be fun. So I want to talk about why you should do it, how to do it, and why it won't make you bulky. So we're going to before we even dive into it, and I know Ryan wants to make this like a lot more of like a community thing every time we do these calls. So we're all going to be talking, we're all going to be voicing up and discussing. It's not just going to be me kind of like talking to you guys. And as you can see actually right here on the slides, I love that image of the fat, the 2 kilos of fat versus the 2 kilos of muscle. And right there, you can see the difference. And when someone says they don't want to get bulky from putting on muscle, why it'll never happen, because it is so much denser and so much tighter and leaner than fat. So a lot of times when people say, I feel like I'm a little bit too bulky, and they think it's their muscle, I have to, you know, not so, or pretty bluntly tell them that it's mainly because they have too much fat. So whenever I have to tell that to my clients, they really appreciate it, but it's always the truth. So if you feel like you're bulky in an area, I can promise you it's not because your triceps are too big. It's because you have some fat on your arms there, or if it's in your hips or wherever it is, because muscle is lean. Who in the call today has been concerned about getting too bulky from weight training? And you can enter in the chat box. You can unmute and voice up. Is concerned about getting bulky from weight training, or knows or has heard somebody voice the concerns of being too bulky from weight training? Chat box or unmute and feel free to chat. And I'm gonna make you guys interact.
I don't have a concern of getting too bulky, but I don't like looking disproportionate. So I'm a lot leaner on top, and I have big delts. So it's like those areas that I do kind of try to avoid so it doesn't look unbalanced or like too masculine.
Disproportionate, you mean like size in your shoulders versus?
Yeah, like very a little bit more muscular on top, and then my legs are not sculpted.
So she is more so of her structure, like she's kind of more, her shoulders are more rounded up top.
Mm-hmm.
So
like
it kind
more
of
bottom
appears that
heavy.
it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I'm glad that you mentioned that because we are going to discuss in the call today that we're going to talk about how to build muscle, but we're also going to talk about, like, yeah, if you don't want to make a certain area grow, just don't target that area with the purpose of growing it, right? So we are going to talk about that. So first we have to understand the science. So let's jump into the science a little bit. Yeah, basically what I already said, right? This is right off of the InBody website. The InBody is what most commercial gyms use to measure people's body fat percentage and also their muscle mass. So it says right here, let's get one thing out of the way. Lean muscle, it doesn't really make sense to say lean muscle because there are different types of muscle, but all muscle is lean muscle. So that's a little bit of like a confusing statement when people say, yeah, I want to build lean muscle. All muscle is lean. And I have another image here just because I want to drill it home what the difference is between that pound of muscle and that pound of fat. So bulkiness is going to come from fat. Muscle is always going to be lean, okay? So why build muscle? I mean, beyond like all the aesthetic stuff, and that's really why most people end up wanting to build muscle, I wanted to talk about some of the benefits of building muscle that a lot of people kind of overlook. Let me make this a little small here so I can see my whole slide. All right. So controlling your blood sugar, that's a big one. Your liver and skeletal muscle, this up here, your liver and skeletal muscle store glucose as glycogen. If you don't exercise regularly, and more specifically weight train, you lose your ability to store carbs. When you don't have any place to put them, your blood sugar rises, the pancreas secretes insulin, and you store fat. So if no other reason, controlling your blood sugar should be a huge reason to weight train. And this is for people, family history of diabetes. And even if not, you know, everyone knows that insulin, and as it says right here, is directly related to storing fat and fat gain. So weight training can help keep you lean by keeping your blood sugar levels low. So that's a huge advantage to the weight training that goes beyond the aesthetic. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Anyone, if you guys have any questions as we go through, definitely feel free to kind of chime in and ask any questions.
And I'm gonna add to that, Brian. For example, me and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, we have not been doing cardio. That's one of the things you want to work on. We have not been hitting abs. Just overall, these are elements that we've done in the past. We haven't been doing it, but just because me and Ryan weight train in itself, that in itself is basically our method of burning fat. And we stay lean. And if I told you we're doing cardio and abs every other day, you'll believe us. So we're perfect examples of people that the last 2 or 3 months we've stayed fit just because we're weight training, and it's merely just because of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can't be a bigger proponent for weight training. I do cardio, unlike Ryan, although I know he's going to start doing it. He did vow to do it last week. I didn't hold you to it. But yeah, I don't, I'm glad that you said that about the abs thing. I don't direct train abs at all. Like 0 days a week do I direct train abs. And that's 3 of us on the call right here who all have like 6 packs and don't directly train our abs. So that's coming from the weight training, from controlling our blood sugar, and from things like that. Bone density, I think, you know, I really wanted to focus on the health aspects, and I'm not going to dive into all the science here. These slides will be available for you guys. Certainly reach out to me. I'm happy to email you guys the slides so you get like the science behind it. But bone density is huge. And as you age, you're going to lose your bone density. Specifically, I was obviously thinking, you know, with women on this because of osteoporosis and things of that nature. So for just general health and bone density, especially the majority of injuries that are going to happen to women beyond their 50s are going to be hip fractures and things of that nature from falls. So this goes beyond just putting on muscle to look good. We're talking about your health at this point. Increased metabolism. This is the big one, right? So muscle burns about 3 times as many calories per pound as body fat does. So as you drop fat and add muscle, your scale weight might not change. Hillary, talking to you, your scale weight might not change, but you'll create a significant shift in how you look while also increasing your resting metabolic rate. So these are the benefits of having muscle on your body and also not focusing too much on the scale, although you might want to see the scale come down. Ultimately, you want to look at that recomposition of your body, the way your body is changing. As it says here at the end, by the way, if you're doing a ton of cardio and eating a low-calorie diet to try to burn off your excess body fat, you're actually going to speed up your loss of muscle and slow your resting metabolic rate. And when I say a ton of cardio, what we're really talking about here is people who do like 5 or 6 days a week of like 60 minutes of cardio. I take them through evaluations all the time at Equinox, and they're on the elliptical for 60 minutes. They don't do any weight training. That's a ton of cardio. Doing cardio 3-4 days a week is not necessarily a ton of cardio. But yeah, that's what you can do to your metabolism. So weight training will speed it up. I threw the science in here for people. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Actually, that is my case. Again, like I said, I started with Ryan about a month ago. I am not super good with weight training, either because I don't know much of it or because I'm all by myself and I just don't do it. But right now, this week, I started less than 1,200, between 1,200 to 1,500 calories per day. And I am exercising an hour and a half of cardio everywhere on the stairs, elliptical, and HIIT training. For example, today was a really good day, but I feel like my body's burning, like I have a whole rush, and I feel super good. But based on what it says in the bottom, that it will decrease my metabolic. I forgot what it said, So my question is, will it decrease my metabolic? My
Metabolic rate.
Yeah, my metabolic rate. Will it decrease in a way that it will basically slow down the process of either losing weight or losing fat?
I know exactly what you're asking, so I'll jump right on that. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Let me go back a slide, actually. So here it's discussed kind of slowing down your metabolism. Great question. And I'll tell you, so many people that come into an evaluation with me who have successfully slowed down their metabolism because they went on a diet like you're on right now. If you're a big guy, especially, 1,200 calories is nothing. And what you're going to do is, it's going to work. If you go on that diet, like anyone who comes to me, it works for the first like month, 2 months, or 3 months. And then what happens after about 3 months is your body has adapted to those 1,300 calories and using them very sparingly. And you've made your body more efficient at surviving on 1,300 calories, which means that your metabolism was going to slow down to survive off of that. So that's why I like clients like Hillary that works with me, and we do like carb cycling. No matter how extreme I go with their diet, and she might have 2 or 3 days a week at 1,200, she always will have 4 days a week at around 1,600 to 1,650 calories, which is for her closer to a maintenance level. And that's what's going to keep the metabolism from slowing down, is by keeping little moments throughout the week where it's a higher intake, right? So to answer your question, yes, you will slow it down. If you don't want to slow it down, yes, weight training will help you. B, implement days where you are intaking closer to your maintenance. And honestly, for you, like just even going off of just your floating head here on the Zoom call, I would tell you it's probably about 2,000 calories for most men. So implement at least 2 days a week, maybe even 3 days a week of 2,000 calories. So you're giving your body enough fuel to survive and keep your metabolism alive. Helpful?
Yes, thank you.
For sure. I did want to break down the science just because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people get confused about like muscle building and how it works. So basically, I actually had this conversation this morning with a client because we did an in-body assessment, and it said that he didn't gain muscle over the last 6 weeks. And we increased, admit this person to the room quick. We increased his bench by 20 pounds off his 5RM that we started with on day 1. And he's been getting stronger. He's doing weighted pull-ups, and we're trying to figure out how could he not have built muscle over the last 6 weeks if he's weight training regularly. And some of you might ask yourselves the same question. It's like, why am I not building muscle? Why am I not seeing my body change if I'm working out and I'm strength training? So when you strength train, More people joining. Awesome. When you strength train, you tear your muscles. That's the simplest way that we can put it for you is basically you tear your muscles. I put the science on here for you guys so you can kind of understand it a little bit as well. But basically you're creating little micro tears in your muscle. Now, if you're not building muscle, like my client William this morning, why would that happen? Same conversation I had with him. He's not eating enough. And more likely than not, he's not getting enough protein in to repair the muscle after you create the tear. So that's how you're going to build the muscle, is after you create those micro tears, then replenishing it with the protein, which we'll actually dive into a little bit later today as well. And we're going to dive into the rep schemes actually coming up right here. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the muscle building, anything like that. Now this for me was super exciting, and I actually texted Ryan because I loved it. Like, I feel like it flips on the head a lot of people's ideologies as to how to build muscle, and the general science that has been actually used for like decades, saying that if you want to build muscle, the ideal zone is between 6 to 12 reps. And this is stuff that I've even like believed in because every single fitness textbook says it. So the ideal would be 6 to 12 reps for muscle growth. For endurance, normally around higher reps, 12 to 15, and then straight strength, 1 to 5. So that's the general consensus, right? So now we're going to kind of flip it on its head. This was very interesting. So this was a meta-analysis done, and they found that with low loads, approximately 12 to 40 reps, when taken to failure, were just as successful at eliciting muscle growth. So in other words, as it says here, the actual hypertrophy rep range, falling between 5 to 40 when reps are taken to or close to failure. So this was really interesting to me. And the reason it was interesting to me was because I'm a little bit of a jerk about like listening to the textbook, and I do a ton of extended sets and drop sets and just pushing myself until I absolutely can't move anymore on certain exercises. And I've had my clients do it over the years as well. And I've seen the tremendous results, but I've not necessarily had the science to back it up or any type of like trials. So after doing like the studying for this call today, I was able to find it. And essentially what happens is as you go through those rep ranges, you end up recruiting all your types of muscle fibers that you have. So if you're looking to build muscle, if that is your goal, the answer for the gym setting is really any range of reps from 5 to 40. But more importantly than that it's saying here, and that I hope everyone takes away from the call, is the intensity. So training to near failure means pushing until you can't stand back up if you're squatting, or you can't pick it back up if you're doing some type of curl or chest press. So pushing yourself till you really can't complete anymore. That's how you're going to build muscle. So intensity. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I just wanted to chime in really quick. Those of you who have worked out with me or talked to me about training in the gym know that I'm a big proponent to mixing up lifting super heavy weight for low reps with also incorporating higher reps within the 12 to 15 range. And essentially, to kind of touch on this point, there is no concrete rule. There's just ranges and references. But then the key is, this is why it's so important for you to be so in tune with your body and what's happening is, as you gain that experience consistently going in the gym, keyword consistently, you start to develop a sixth sense for what rep range you want to go for, what your body is feeling, and you feel the weight. And the key is you want to take it to failure or close to failure. So for certain exercises, like for instance, if you're training, let's say your lateral deltoids, which is the side of your shoulders, that's a very small muscle group. So typically you want to train that muscle group in higher rep ranges because you can't handle heavier weight. But if you're doing something like a compound movement, like squats, there is no limit to how much weight you can take it. There's also no real concrete rule for how much weight you should be going for, how many reps you should be going for. It's more of a feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to extend on that, me and Ryan train very similarly, which is also why we get along well with everything with the fitness. I trained today. I did heavy shoulders. I started with my compound, which is an overhead barbell press. I trained in that 4 rep range on that. So I am a big proponent. I still follow the decades old science of those max strength lifts and rocking with that. More what this was about was kind of explaining that you really can achieve it anywhere. It's really more so about the intensity. And when you push to near failure, you end up recruiting the same muscles that you would recruit if you were lifting a maximal load. But we are going to talk about, I'm glad that Ryan brought up squatting and stuff, because we're going to talk about the exercises behind it. This is kind of exactly what I just said. So no sense in kind of going over it again, but this is all the science behind it. And I do want to share the slides with you guys so you can read it over if you are interested in the science. I'm a nerd, so I was nerding out reading through all this stuff, but it's very interesting for sure. So yeah, Ryan kind of answered this. I'm glad that he brought it up. For your larger compound lifts, that's going to be a little bit different, because what happens is I don't want anyone to go off this call and say, oh man, I want to grow my glutes or my legs, so I'm just going to go squat like 50 times with the barbell, because what's going to happen is your form's going to break down and then you're going to get hurt. So for those big lifts, you do want to keep the reps lower. So anywhere from 1 to 8 reps, maybe you could go as high as 10 reps, but you don't want to be doing 40 reps of squats, because form's going to go and you're going to end up hurting yourself. It's more so for like the isolation stuff. And that's why I incorporate it with my clients. And as a perfect example, any like ladies looking to grow their glutes or anything, you know, a lot of my women at the end of our leg sessions will do cable kickbacks. And I'll have them, that's a really small, easy exercise where their form's not going to break down. I did it with my wife last week in her session, and we did 12 reps, drop set, 10 reps, drop set, 10 reps. So we ended up doing 30 to 40 reps, just like this is explaining. And that's how I've seen good growth in like the glutes and areas like that. So the reason I want to talk about it today is if you have an area that you want to grow, you know, glutes, hamstrings, if you're a guy, your biceps, your triceps, these are areas where you can get specific with those isolation exercises and really extend those sets with drop sets and things of that nature to create that blood flow, to create that growth. And if you don't want to, like Ryan was talking about earlier, and like his girlfriend was talking about, let's say she doesn't want broader shoulders, yeah, don't do 10 drop sets of lateral delt raises, because Desiree, you're going to end up with some brolic ass shoulders for sure. And that's not what you want. So just be smart with the strength training that you do. So the reason that I wanted to do this call was because if you understand how to build muscle, you also understand how not to build muscle. So if you don't want to grow it, now you know how not to grow it. And if you want to grow it, now you know how to grow it. Ultimately though, you know, I would say for anyone, you want to build muscle. And then once you reach that comfortable area, let's say you don't want to get any bigger, just stop pushing it. Don't keep pushing to failure. Keep the weight the same. Don't continuously progress that movement. If you feel like your arms are starting to look a little bigger than you want, or looking like the way that you want them to look, stop going up in weight. You're good. Now just maintain, because you can just maintain muscle. It doesn't always have to be building.
It's funny. I was doing incline bench press with Ryan today, and
Yeah.
you know, we stayed at a certain weight, and I'm like, Ryan, let's keep adding, because I'm used to that type of, you know, like 45, 25, 45, then 3 45s. But I'm understanding with Ryan, the whole key to this thing is not usually maxing out, is keeping a consistent weight and repping it out 5 or 6 times. And I actually felt more fuller staying at a consistent weight. So, you know, training with the GOAT.
That's great. This here is about recovery. So we're talking about what to do in the gym. Then we're talking about the recovery and just giving your body the adequate time to recover. And a lot of people kind of miss out on this part. I miss out on it myself personally, honestly. I should take my own advice, because every Thursday I'm exhausted after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday working out, and I still work out because it's my mental therapy. But yeah, you got to give yourself the time to recover if you want the muscles to grow. Okay, so that's just as important. Little bit nutrition. So if you're looking, you're a guy, you're a woman, whoever you are, looking to build muscle, these are the general recommendations, okay? So you have the general health recommendation here, which you could calculate out for all you guys. So I thought this would be helpful for anyone who wants to know. That's a little low, the general one. For someone looking to increase muscle mass, okay? So if you're looking to build muscle, it's gonna be a little bit higher. So recommending 0.5 to 0.8 grams per pound. So, saying you're a 165-pound person, it's going to come down to around 75 grams of protein. So I do end up targeting a little higher with some of my clients. Hillary, you might even see that this is lower than I would normally recommend for you, but there is that kind of swing and that variance there that you have. But I would say that would be like the low end of the threshold, that 75 grams. Okay. And you can use this math and calculate it and figure out your protein intake based off of this as well. I do think that people tend to overeat on protein in general, to be quite honest. Threw my wife in here. She's getting a little feature. How to avoid getting bulky. I don't know. I like to share some photos of her, in the gym, where people sometimes think that she looks a little bit too much with the muscle, maybe those triceps are too much. I showed it to my client. She said it wasn't too much. She thought it was perfect. But then relaxed when she's, here she is on our wedding day. I think she looks very feminine. And then also when we went to a holiday party together. So I just think there's such a myth around it. And sometimes people will see her working out and be like, oh my God, her arms look like too much more than I want. But then if you look at her right now while she's sitting on the sofa at home, and she just looks so feminine and soft, it's just because she has all that blood in the muscle and it's creating that little bigger look momentarily. That's not how she walks around. So I do want to explain that again, reiterate, it won't make you bulky. It doesn't matter what she does. As long as you're a woman, you don't have the testosterone. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to grow that way. It literally is just not going to happen. So, she pushes the weight, she puts on muscle. If she wants to put on muscle in certain areas, we do those things that I spoke about earlier, extended sets, drop sets. And she does train pretty heavy on her upper body and push her upper body because she's not afraid of growing. But for most people, it's just not going to happen. As I said here, it won't happen. It's denser than fat. So, you can actually lose inches and get smaller. And once you reach your desired aesthetic, then you can create a program around maintenance. So that right there kind of answers the questions about bulkiness. If anyone has any feelings about bulkiness, would love to hear that. I think that's very interesting. Does protein intake affect the ability to lose weight? I would need you to elaborate on that question. Does protein intake affect the ability to lose weight? Protein in its nature has the highest TEF of any macronutrient that you take in, and TEF is the thermic effect of food. And what that means is that your body has to exert more energy to break down protein and digest it than any other macronutrient, which is generally why high protein diets can work really well for staying lean, and also why all bodybuilders have high protein diets, and why myself personally has a high protein diet. So I would not, if you're asking if you upped your protein intake or anything, if that would make you not lose weight, no. All of my clients on nutrition plans, no matter how extreme I make their diet, their protein intake is always 100 grams or more. I don't let them plummet their protein. If I did, they would lose muscle like we talked about earlier today. And that's what most extreme diets do with people, is they put them at a severe deficit. They starve them of protein. The people lose weight because they lose fat, they lose water, and they lose muscle. So they lose weight really quick. And then their body actually never really recovers from it. Perfect example, someone very close to me went on an extreme diet. It's called NJ diet, and it had her lose 40 pounds in 30 days. And she's never recovered from that actually 2 years later. Her metabolism has been pretty effectively destroyed from that. So never a big fan of starving your bodies, always feeding your body adequate amounts of protein. What about for females? I don't know which question that was about, but Eliza, if you want to elaborate on that, feel free.
Brian, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So back to that question, can you gain weight? So let's say you stay out of the gym for a week or two. Should you then decrease your protein intake at that point? Because now you're going to be in a caloric surplus, right? I think
I'm glad you asked that because anyone who does nutrition coaching with me has heard my analogy that now has just gotten probably so old for them of the carbohydrates are, I consider carbohydrates the gasoline for your body if your body was a car. So mainly carbs are your energy source that your body's going to most readily burn. So on the days that you're working out, I would assume that your carbs are a little bit higher to fuel your workouts, as most of my clients' diets are based. So if you're not working out, I would simply limit the amount of carbohydrates that you're taking in, because you're not moving your car. It's essentially your car is staying in the garage. So you wouldn't fill your car with gasoline if it was sitting in the garage. It's only if you're going to go out and take it for a drive. So that's the analogy that I normally use. The protein and the fats are what I equate to motor oil, and meaning that those levels have to stay constant at all times. Otherwise, the engine will seize. So people who starve themselves of protein, they're seizing their engine. They don't have any motor oil on it. The motor can't run anymore, and then it breaks down. So that's the analogy I like to use with that. So you should not lower your protein, because you want to keep your engine running smoothly. And when I say your engine, I'm talking about your metabolism. So we want to keep your body adjusted to that protein intake, and that's what's going to keep a nice healthy metabolism. And then when you get back working out, up your carbohydrates right back up, and you can get back into the gym. Eliza, what's the best calorie intake for females that are trying to lose weight? Yeah, you can reference that last slide. I mean, honestly, I think that's a really conservative amount of protein that it gave there for a 165-pound person having 75 grams of protein. I'm training a 50-plus year old woman who's barely 100 pounds, and I have her eating like 80 to 100 grams of protein. So I normally trend honestly closer to a gram per pound of body weight. So best calorie intake for females trying to lose weight. If you were a female 140 pounds, you'd be good for anywhere from 100 to 120 grams of protein easily. So take your weight and subtract by 20 to 40 grams of protein. I do have a math calculation that I normally use for people though. A lot of people do say this, that muscle weighs more than fat. It's not true, but it is denser than fat, and that's kind of what we went over earlier today with the pictures. So this is just kind of the words behind those pictures. It takes up a lot less room on your body, and that's what kind of goes against the notion that you're going to get bulky from it, because it actually takes up less space. And a lot of people who are unhappy with a certain area on their body being too big, and they're afraid of doing weight training and growing that area, the chances are they could focus on dropping the body fat in that area, and building the muscle in that area, and it'll actually end up smaller than it was before. Because like, imagine that you have a pound of fat in your shoulders or your arms or your hips. Remember what we showed in that picture earlier, it's going to take up so much more space than a pound of muscle. So what we want to focus on is more losing the body fat. And how are you going to do that? Diet, cardio, and as we spoke about earlier, strength training and increasing your metabolism. I threw in a little teaser too, because we're talking a lot about weight training today. And me and Ryan were working on a 12-week strength training program that we're going to release through Macro. And it's actually built around all of these principles that we actually just went over. So this is the men's strength training program. We're working on a female strength training program as well. Definitely best for someone who has access to a gym, because it's going to be based around a lot of like barbell lifts and free weights. But the science behind it is actually all the science that we just went over today. And this is the same exact way that I work out myself personally. It's how I just did my workout today. So we start with a big compound lift. We spoke about this on the call last week. Break down into more accessory work. And I actually have the full 12 weeks already laid out. This is just a couple of the exercises from it. Just wanted to kind of tease it for you guys. It is centered around testing your maximum. So seeing what your maximum threshold is, and then basing everything off of that. That's probably honestly, the call went really quick today. I was thinking about going deeper on some of the topics. I do want to talk to you guys a little bit, go back and forth on a lot of the stuff that we went over for the last like 10 minutes or so here. And also maybe tease a little bit for next week. So let me put it up on gallery view so I can see everyone. Cody, you're very late. Just joining now. Yeah, so guys.
Cousin.
Is that your cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me, guys. I wanna talk to all you guys about what you're currently doing with your programs right now. Any struggles you've had with your weight training, what your goals are. That's what we're really doing with these calls. Is it should be a little bit of a round table, kind of go around, talk about each other's goals, what you're currently doing in the gym. I know Ryan shared a little bit. I know, John shared a little bit. I shared a little bit. So let's kind of go around the room a little bit. Let's chat a little bit. And I know Ryan likes to force people to.
I sent Pope to everyone privately.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing them. So let's
Who in
start
here
off at
is
the,
trying to build muscle? How about that?
let's start off with
Either
let's
show of
see,
hands or like an
Amanda.
enter in the chat box.
No,
Who
no,
in
it's
here is trying to
Amanda to
build
speak.
muscle?
Elizabeth, Ryan.
Okay, Elizabeth, call Elizabeth out.
Wow. I'm just a fly in the wall. I'm just listening. I'm here for support.
Well,
What
Liz,
do
trying
you
to build
want me
muscle?
to say?
well, Liz, you
What?
want to collaborate with us. So what is it that you're aiming to accomplish with collaborating with us besides supporting the brand and whatever? Like, what would be your outcome out of that process?
Okay. All right. Great question. Okay. So I would say, I think when it comes to health and wellness, like I feel like I have a good basis on it myself, like in the sense of like, I know like the minimum and enough to keep me healthy, enough to like, I know how to eat clean and I know how to get myself to the gym and what to do at the gym. However, there's always a sense of you don't actually know if you're doing it right, right? Like at least with the gym, like with personal training, like it's something about having that person one push you further than you can push yourself, which I'm very tenacious and I know how to push myself already to a limit. I mean, like I'll push myself. I won't give up, but I think having that extra person push you even further or tell you, no, like actually you could do this much weight. But when it comes to like eating, I mean, just to say really fast about the gym, I would say it's just clarity. I think it's just having more clarity, making sure that, I'll say like I have friends that I know that they'll work out at Dog Pound or like these places, and I could tell that it pushes them more because they're like working out and they have a trainer and they have somebody like being consistent with them. So you could tell their results are better. And then I guess with cleaning again, it's just, I don't know. Like I don't know about like being too strict with my diet. Like, I don't know, like I already eat pretty clean, but I also have like some leeway. So I don't really know. Like, I've explored a lot with different types of eating. And I also don't really know what the question was. I'm so sorry. I'm trying my best to like answer. What was the question?
John, next time I ask the questions. I'll ask the questions next time, John.
Good question.
Oh, wow. John, you did a great
Anywho.
job.
I'll just drink you guys.
He's drinking. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Let's see who else is on the call.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, bye.
Yes.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Brian.
Eliza.
That's the name.
Well, Maria just posted a comment in the chat.
Yeah, it's great. So being 5'8", ideal weight. Weight that like my personal appearance, but I'm the type of person. Yeah, that's tricky. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I've been speaking a lot with my nutrition coaching clients, Hillary, definitely about the weight. I can't give you an ideal weight off of, just that. The biggest thing that I use with my clients, honestly, and I'm a real stickler about is photo check-ins also. I think for anyone, let's face it, if we didn't have scales and we didn't understand what the number actually represented, we would have no association as to what that number means, meaning you would look in the mirror and if you thought you looked good, you would be happy, right? So I don't really, honestly, personally give a shit about the scale. I haven't stepped on a scale since March, actually. I was doing the InBody pretty regularly to check my body fat levels when the gyms were open, and then COVID hit. And I didn't want to get discouraged about not being able to weight train and keep my physique where I wanted it. So I just kind of stopped weighing myself during COVID. And I haven't stepped on it since because I feel good about myself. I'm happy with where I'm at. And I don't, I think weighing yourself is good to know where your weight is. But if you think that it might be something that's going to get you upset and it's not contributing to your goal, then I wouldn't do it. Now you're saying that it might keep you motivated. So in that case, like, sure, maybe you could step on the scale, but it should just be another variable that you're measuring along your weight loss journey. You should also be taking pictures. You should also be checking like am I happy? You know, like I think a lot of people forget that. Like, am I happy? Do I like how I look? Am I happy with how I'm eating? Am I happy with my lifestyle? Am I happy with how I'm disciplining myself? You know, Hillary's a good example. Like, she's getting results. Like, you know, she's working out harder. Her runs are going, she's going longer on her runs. Her running time is improving every single week. She's exercising discipline with her diet. So yeah, maybe the scale's not changing, but why allow one variable to upset you when every other variable is a positive? Meaning she goes out for birthdays and she celebrates with her family and she doesn't like binge. She stays on track with the program. She has a couple drinks and enjoys it. You know, she's doing everything is good. The scale is the only thing that maybe is not going the direction that she wants. Her photos look great every week. She's tighter, she's slimmer. So that's my opinion on it. Measuring inches is a big one. She measures. She does every 4 weeks. She does her inches. And I know Ryan wants to say something. So go ahead, Ryan, jump at it there.
So what I was gonna say was, you don't want to get caught up in measuring your progress on a scale unless your discipline matches you measuring yourself on a scale. A lot of people, because I've worked with a ton of people doing this, and they use that as an excuse to cling to, because they want to find every reason to self-sabotage. So it's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to keep on stepping on the scale to see if somehow miraculously all of my bad habits went out the window, and me only getting in 1 or 2 workouts this week. Meanwhile, I've been eating like crap all week. Somehow, some way, a miracle is going to happen when I step on a scale. And then they hold their breath and they step on. So normally the first month of me working with somebody, I don't even have them step on a scale. Like, I have them step on a scale in the beginning, just so we know where you started. But from that point on, we're not stepping on a scale every couple of weeks unless you're at that level. I would more so be more concerned with, how's your energy? Has your energy improved? Has your sleeping improved? What about your moods? Do you feel like your appetite is changing? Those are the most important questions, because if those things are changing and those things are progressing, your body is going to naturally transform. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway there, like focusing on just every other variable except the scale, right? Like, I think we get so caught up in it and forget, you know, like, how do you feel? What's your opinion about taking a body count? Yeah, I'm a big fan of the InBody. At times, I mean, sometimes I just get frustrated with it. Perfect example actually was this morning, because I have a client who started with me 6 weeks ago. He's been eating much better, eating much more food. He's been training with me twice a week. He's been strength training on his own twice a week. He's been doing all the right things. And we did the InBody. And despite the fact that his numbers went up on all of his lifts, for whatever reason, he didn't build muscle. And we spoke about that earlier today. Maybe he's not eating enough protein. But the interesting part about it was that his chest is much broader. He's much fuller. His arms are much bigger. And he feels much better about himself. So, like, in that case, like, why let like a machine, which is really subject to a lot of variables, including hydration, and there's just so many variables that go into that number that you're seeing that most people don't understand behind it. And that's really the problem with going off of the scale, is not that it's not like an accurate representation, it's that you don't know what it's representing. You know, like Hillary's a good example, because, you know, you got so many factors. Like, if she doesn't do cardio the day before, she holds more water. So are you holding more water? If she does strength training and the body is holding inflammation after strength training, you're holding more inflammation. So my opinion on the body composition analyzer, use it, but take it with a grain of salt, like any measurement. Like, ultimately, ask yourself, am I getting stronger? Like, base it off your program too. Am I getting stronger? Is my cardio getting better? Do I feel better about myself? Am I happy? Like, the most important variable. How about, like, am I happy? Because if you're happy, but then you step on the InBody or the body composition analysis and it tells you something different, and then you're going to be unhappy because of it. Isn't that silly? Doesn't that make no sense? So in that case, like, I'm not a fan of it. So if you're able to use the variables in a way that it's not going to dictate your happiness, then I would suggest using a body composition analyzer and a scale, because it's another measurement. But if it's going to impede on your happiness and also steer you away from the positive behaviors that you've been implementing. And me and Hillary, one of the big things with Hillary is we focus on her behaviors and we don't focus on the measurements. So we celebrate if she worked out 3 or 4 days that week. We celebrate if her cardio got better. We celebrate if she was disciplined with her diet. We celebrate all of these things. We don't celebrate the measurements so much. We celebrate the behaviors, because if you celebrate the behaviors, the measurements will come. So that's like a really big aspect that we focus on. And that's why I don't really do them myself. I'm like, was I good with my diet this week? Did I push myself in the gym? Did I do all of the things that I needed to do? Okay, then I don't need a scale to make me feel good about myself. So I'm really big on the behavior. So guys, if you're struggling right now, if you're struggling to lose weight, and if you're struggling to build muscle, and if you're struggling in the gym, you're probably not focusing on your behaviors enough, and you're focusing too much on the result. Okay? So stop for a second and focus on your behaviors, and focus on being disciplined with your diet. Focus on all of those things, and the results will come. I promise they're going to come. But you're too focused on the end result, and you're not focused on the day-to-day.
I like using that analogy with real estate, Brian, and you do real estate as well.
Yeah.
For those realtors that are money hungry and that are always chasing the paycheck, those are the people that never succeed. But when you're out there on the field, when you're out there in the field providing service and showing people that you love what you do, the money will come. It will definitely come. So I'm a firm, example, because when I started with Ryan, I thought my ideal weight was 180, 185, right? Because I've always been around that weight. And I weighed myself one random day, and I'm like, yo, shit, Ryan, I weigh 175, bro. And I was mind blown. Because remember, Ryan, 175, I think I've been my best physique ever. And I would have never known that if I weighed myself, but that's just an example of weighing yourself is just this platform the society put for us. Whereas like in school, right? You have to get a college degree to be successful, right? That's what society says. I think in the health and fitness is you weigh yourself. That's how you determine success. And we gotta step away from that. Like you said, behavior, energy level. Do you look good? Do you feel good, right? Because I didn't know that at 175 I'll be in my best physique. But it's just going through the process and just patting yourself on your back when you're hitting those goals. And I think measurement should become, at least for myself, like now towards the winter, I told Ryan I want to bulk up. I want to grow my legs. So I just use measurement in terms of like, I want to grow my legs. Let me push myself to see if it's growing. But I don't see it helpful for people that want to lose weight, because I think they sabotage themselves. Because if they don't go down, they're like, it's not working. And they go ahead, Ryan.
Let me tune in. I want to talk on the topic real quick about motivation and why motivation is a huge deceiver. People think that the ones that are the most consistent and disciplined in the gym are the most motivated, and it's a complete lie. Like today, John would tell you my energy level was low, and he even texted me about it. And I knew my energy level was low because I couldn't sleep last night and I didn't get enough sleep, but I still made sure that I woke up early enough to get to the gym. Why? Because I know that the most important thing in order for me to have the body that I want and to be as healthy as possible is discipline. There is no way around it. If I were to preach anything to anybody about how to transform your body, it's understand discipline. You don't need to know about what to do in the gym. You don't even know what to eat. You don't need to understand any of that stuff. If you just focus on what are my bad habits, where am I lacking in discipline? Because if you make that the primary focus, you're going to start noticing that the reason why my body looks this way is because of all of my bad habits. The reason why my body looks this way is because of my poor mindset. The reason why I look this way is because I don't want to step up to the plate and take responsibility for the fact that I would rather actually sit on a sofa and play on my phone or watch TV, or I would rather hang out with my friends and actually work out the way I committed to. So make discipline your number one priority, which is where mindset comes into play. Once your mindset is where it needs to be on a daily basis, and that's why it's so important for you to have a daily ritual, because when you have a daily ritual, now what happens is it creates armor for you throughout the day, and it's going to create armor for you to be able to defend yourself against these negative thoughts. If you're waking, like I had a conversation with Sarah earlier today, Brian, and she was saying how she was pretty much with this weather, it puts her in this depressive mood. And so today she had a late start to her day because she kind of slept in. And I kind of I got into the topic of waking up early. And I was explaining that if you allow yourself to wake up when you feel like it, or if you allow yourself to wake up because somebody else is determining the time that you have to wake up, then your emotional thermometer is going to be all over the place throughout the day, all over the place, because you don't have any real mental clarity throughout the day because you're running around trying to, do all of the responsibilities that everybody else needs of you. So I'm gonna be quiet.
I just dropped my like favorite self-discipline video into the chat box. Everyone should watch it. I've watched it dozens of times. It's Will Smith's self-discipline video. But yeah, I mean, that is ultimately, guys, like wrapping it out here today. That's what these calls are really about, is like, absolutely, hopefully everyone gets some education from these calls every week, because we're going to dive into science. But I mean, I like them. Like I really like the one earlier this week that they did on mindset. I like them because it's like Ryan said, it's a good like refresher. It's a good reminder. It's nice to get something positive. We get in our own heads. Self-sabotage is just great to talk about that. Negative self-talk, which is really a problem. And these calls are like a nice hour to just really be about positivity, positively changing, putting yourself in a good mindset. Actually, I had like a dope workout Friday morning of last week after we did the call, because like I just had all this positive like energy in my head, and like all we were talking about was like early morning workouts and crushing it. And I got in the gym and I was actually exhausted. My body felt like shit. The weight felt so heavy, I didn't want to pick it up. But I was thinking about all the things that we said, and it was floating around and bouncing around in there, and I ended up having an amazing workout. I felt great. So I mean, that's really the goal of these calls, is to like really just kind of set you guys on fire, take the information that you learn from them and then run with it into your workouts, into your diets, into your lives, because this is like way deeper than fitness. This is like, your career will be better if you can wrap your head around a lot of these things and these disciplines and things like that. So yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for joining. It was a lot of fun. Any questions, drop in the chat box, like as closing statements if anyone wants to talk. If anyone wants to, share anything before we leave, feel free before I end the call here. Otherwise, next week we'll have some more info for you guys. I know same calls. They have the nutrition calls. They have the mindset calls. So we'll be rocking with it again next week. Any questions? Any last minute statements?
No, it was great. So much information, and it's interesting because I feel like Ryan preaches to me all of this already, but I'm more proactive in wanting to know all the science. I'm a very big why. Why am I doing this? Why am I implementing everything? So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm glad you took that away. That's great. Anyone else? We wrapping out, bouncing out?
No, pretty good. Thank you. It was amazing. I love hearing Ryan, and also you, Pleasure, Brian. Like I always say, it's always good to learn from the people that will feed you with knowledge, your heart, your brain with the positive. So I appreciate the invitation and being here with you guys.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for joining. We good, Ryan? Call it a wrap?
Yeah. So I just want you guys to know that these calls are going to be every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. So the way that we've organized it is Tuesdays is mindset, Wednesdays is nutrition, and Thursdays is with Brian, yours truly, discussing everything strength training related and just overall bodybuilding and stuff like that, sculpting your body. And then eventually we're looking to also, in the next coming weeks, we actually partner up with a fitness coach to do live Zoom workouts Mondays and Saturdays. She's doing like all body weight at home workouts. So a lot of you women could really, really benefit from this. So we'll keep you posted with everything. And also, if you guys not a member of the Facebook group, it's going to be Macro Fitness and Nutrition. I'm going to type it in the chat. Brian, also put your handle. So if anybody has questions or wants the slides or anything like that, you guys can message Brian
Sure.
directly.
Yeah, hit me up, guys. I can. I'll definitely happy to share the slides with you, or just follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of the similar kind of info and informative content on there too. So,
Brian, throw it on the group chat.
Yes. So there you go, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. But yeah, we'll be back next week for our next Zoom calls.
thank you guys. Have a great night. Crush your workouts for the rest of the week. Crush your diets. Thanks for tuning in.